Hi, everybody. Welcome to this introduction to Hackathon, who's for those that are not technically equipped. So, Momen, I'm the founder of Momen. My name is Yao Kai Jiang, and in this video, I'm going to talk about how you would approach a hackathon as a non-technical person. By non-technical, I mean you don't do coding uh, as you don't code by training, or you don't consider yourself a coder. Right? So Momen is a full stack no code platform. On Momen you can build um, websites, web apps, SaaS applications with a backend, with backend workflows, with API integration and AI agents, all the fancy stuff. But in hackathons, sometimes you don't have time to build a fancy front end like this one over here, which is also built in Momen. You probably just want a front end that just works and gets your idea across. Okay, so things to do in Hackathon will start with clarifying and distilling your idea. So for that purpose, I have built an application called Requirement Analyzer. It's actually built in Momen. So this is the project that built it, and this is the we call it the runtime. So that's where the users see it, not the developer. This thing is just called requirement-analyzer.moment.cloud, and you can get yourself an account. Let's say I already have one, but I'm gonna create a new one. I'm gonna sign it up. Actually, I'm actually already registered, so I'm going to do this. Oh, whoops. Maybe I just do that. Who am I? Sorry, I've demoed it too many times, and I forgot which account I was using. So these are past ideas I've generated. For example, in this case, I typed a carbon footprint tracking tool, and once you have the idea, you click, it would say improve my idea. It would take you to refinement, and this takes you here with the requirements and a list of clarifying questions. In this case, I did not answer any. And you can skip these clarifying questions and go to analysis, in which it will give you the user stories and page layouts. So let's try something. Let's say if I want to build an example that I'm going to build now in AI image editing tool. Well, maybe website, web app. It has a list of preset prompts, styles. Okay, that's it. And maybe we say like it is going to be for a hackathon, so free. Okay, so I'm gonna click improve my idea, and now it's going to come up with a list of structured requirements and a list of clarifying questions. So let's read the requirements. As the system shall be a web-based application, blah, blah, blah. The application shall provide a curated list of preset prompts or styles that user can select to apply the images. The system must prioritize the use of free to or open source use. Okay, let's ignore that. So that's the list. You can go through that. And the AI has come up with a list of questions. What specific type of editing is required? Transforming entire image style. We will use Nano Banana 2 and the Pro, I think. Image plus original image plus prompt. Do you have a preferred AI model? Well, actually, Nano Pro via Momen.app. I don't know if the AI knows about Momen, but we'll see. Should user be able to create their own prompts? No. no user created prompts is user authentication. Auth is required to store the image. Yes, it must be stored. What is expected volume of users? Don't care. Small. Okay, we'll provide the answer, and then AI would start thinking about user stories. User story is actually a technical term. Within a user story, you have a role. More to clarify. What else do you want a clarification? Since storage is required, private. For the question, we implement a simple Momen provides it out of the box. Okay. Authentication is provided, and then if you're bored enough with AI's questions, it might like continuously ask you new questions. Just skip. By the way, these fancy images, well, it's not actually images, it's a Lottie animation. You can find it on Lottie files. And then I think this is just one of those, I don't even know which one it is, but you can find one of those things. And Momen does support, oh, where are we? Okay, user stories, create an account and log in. Benefit, my edited images are saved privately to my account and not shared with others. System must use Momen app's built-in authentication. User, that's the role, right? The user uploads original image from my device and provides source material for the AI to transform, blah, blah, blah. So those are the things you should check out. Not sure what happened to tape page layout. Let's see if this, oh, yeah, okay. So actually it only has two pages. One, the AI editor workspace. The other one is a private history gallery, which makes sense. Okay, so that is what we have. If you have an idea and then you have like you're a bit blurry as to your vision, you can use requirement analyzer to help you to clarify your vision. But if you already have a concrete vision, then it doesn't really matter. Now, if you want to use Momen in a hackathon setting, well, when you start, you're gonna be greeted with an empty project like this one. You will have a single page that is completely empty. You will have a default account table with existing fields, and then everything else is just going to be empty. Okay, so the most important thing about creating a project or creating any application is the data. And by data, I mean like what is stored in your database, and that's like the core of every single application. Now, you could create tables yourself. We call it data model, but it doesn't really matter, it's just table. You could say we call it the style, right? Because we were going to create a repository of styles which the users can then choose from, and then maybe you would add things like a style name, and you would add things like the actual prompts, right? So that is all fine and dandy, and you might also want a result page for all the generation histories. But we can also do that by AI. So we're just gonna undo everything, or you can delete that, it's up to you. And then we will use the AI Copilot over here. As to the stuff that you want to enter, just say build me a database which supports the following user stories. And you can just copy the user stories from here. Or you could describe your application's business logic. So we'll just copy all of them here. And we actually just want to use username login. Actually, email login is fine. So let's go to here. User sign up and log in via no social login, right? Because social login means that you have to like then find a you like connect to a bunch register a bunch of applications on these on these platforms and then import them. Momen does support it, but it's just a lot of hassle for a hackathon. I'm gonna copy this one as well, and then we'll just blindly copy, which is actually a bad idea. But since this is a video to just give you guys ideas, it's probably not gonna hurt. Paste that all in. The AI agent is going to try to come up with a table schema so that it supports these business cases. Oh, I think I clicked the wrong thing. Sorry. I copied the same thing over and over again. That's not good. Yeah, I think there. Oh, okay. I actually have a bug within my what do you call this? The requirement analyzer. So let's be lazy and just copy this thing like that. It should also work. Okay. Build DB to support the following user stories. By the way I got rid of the existing like the ongoing session, and I just created a new session over here. This will give you a new chat. It's very similar to Cursor or one of these vibe coding tools, new agent. This typically takes about 30 seconds. Okay, so we have it now. So we have an account, has some generation history, and you got the AI style, which has a name and a preset prompt. Makes perfect sense. And it's tied to existing all the generation. Those are the generation histories. Most importantly, it's the origin image, the generated image, and who created it, and then what style it is. Just click confirm, and then you'll be done. It also takes about 15 seconds. In Momen, we use function calling to interact, to let the AI interact with our project. Okay, so that one is mostly done. And then next step within this particular business case is that we want to let people to edit their images. So in this case, we will need an AI agent to do that. Right, so this database is now done. So if we look at this, we now have the AI style. Where are we? We have the AI style. And we're image generation. You see we actually now have 4 tables. The reason these just popped up is because I created an agent. An agent has associated tables. These tables record everything that the agent does. Okay, so this one's now done. We can get rid of it. It's no longer needed. And the agent is going to be a image editor. Okay, editor. And as we said, it's going to take an origin image. And it's of a type, an image. And it's going to take a pre-existing prompt. So how do we get that prompt? Well, we will get it from the database, but in this particular case, we're gonna get the database via Actionflow. But we'll leave that for within 5 minutes. So the goal is simply just the prompt, and we can leave everything empty because it's not. I mean, you can put something here in constraints if you want a specific aspect ratio. So let's say aspect ratio 16:9. Okay, so we don't particularly need streaming output because you can't really stream an image. It's like either there or not, or it's somewhat just broken. And we can test it. Before we can test it, it says you have to sync backend changes first, which means you have to click this thing over here. that says sync changes. As it's syncing, I am now going to find myself some existing prompts to use, and the reason is I've already built one, so I'm gonna just copy paste some stuff. And this particular case was called style. So we are going to use porcelain or something, and we're gonna paste in here. The style is fairly simple. It says just turn the subject in the of this photo into a delicate white porcelain statue. Add Kinski details, cracks filled with liquid gold running across the surface. Okay, so fancy stuff. Let's do it. We're gonna upload an image of me holding a bunch of muzzles. It's a bit large, so let's wait for it. And we also need to choose the correct model. In this case, we have Gemini 3 Flash Preview, which doesn't support image generation. It only has image process. Well, yeah, it doesn't support image generation. So if we need to generate images, we are going to use Gemini 3 Pro Image Preview. That's one of the image generation models that Gemini has. It's very good. So we're going to do that, and we'll test it out by clicking here. And this thing is now going to run. Typically, it takes about 25 to 30 minutes for 2K image. For 1K image, it's about 15 seconds. And for a 4K image, it takes almost like 40 seconds. So the bigger, the more detailed these images are, the longer it takes. All right, so that's now done. We now have a generated porcelain image, right? So this is what it looks like. It's me with golden cracks running across, which is pretty cool. So we want to offer this to our end users. How do we do that? Things are missing are we need to somehow pass in these prompts, and secondly, we need to save the generated image into a user's result table. In this case, we need to somehow save it inside image generation. So to do that, we'll use Actionflow. Actionflows are multi-step workflows that runs on the backend, which is a server, which means it won't be interrupted when a user closes the browser window or if their internet connection is gone. So we just call this edit and save. I mean, you don't need to have these underscores, so you could do edit and save, but I'm just a coder. I'm like a backend guy, so I have these tendencies to avoid spaces, right? Okay, so in order to edit and save something, we need the actual style that we want. So we're going to do style ID, and the style ID is just an integer. All the IDs in Momen are integers, and we call it a big int because that's just a technicality. Little integers are 32 bits, big integers are 64 bits, and in Momen we only have the big ones. Now, before we can actually use them, we do need to store these AI styles, and for that purpose, we can import them. So I've saved up my styles in a CSV. You can import CSVs or XMLs. The way I generated this CSV is actually by AI. I just asked AI to generate a bunch of styles. I'm going to import it into AI style. I have a name and a prompt. And I'm going to click next import, and this is all done. Click, now we have these guys. Okay, so that's good enough. So within here, we first need to get who the account is, because you don't want users passing the account ID to the Actionflow, because users work on the front end, so they can lie about who they are. So you don't want to trust that. Get account. And then next, we are going to fetch the corresponding style, well, AI style. And we're going to use the AI style whose name is equal to the style ID that was just passed in. We'll also rename this to called get style. And now we have the style. We are going to call the AI, but you notice this says asynchronous mode required. It's because AIs typically take really long, and if you use the synchronous mode, which corresponds to a database transaction, it's going to hawk the database, and then you're going to have performance issues. So we force you to use an asynchronous thing. You can dig into transactional semantics if you want, but for now, remember that if you're using AI, you have no choice. Okay, so we're gonna do edit, and then we choose the image editor. We need the original image, and that wasn't passed in. I forgot about that. So in addition to style ID, we also need the original image. The name of this does not have to correspond directly to this. This thing could well be called like style IIDD, or this could be called like img, right? It doesn't really matter because they are bound later. So we choose an image here, and then here you go. Original image is the Actionflows inputs image, and then the prompt is the styles preset prompt. Now we're done. And then the last step, we want to save the generated result. So in so Nano Banana actually by default generates more than one. They could generate more than one image. If they did, we want to save all of them. We could just loop over it. So we're going to loop over all the images generated by the AI. So we're going to say loop images. Okay, and then for each image, we want to save it to the image generation table. So in this case, we first rename it. We call it save, and we're going to save the original image. So that's in the input. We're going to save the generated image. So that's coming from the loop. We're going to save the account. So that comes from the get account. We're going to save the style. That comes from the get styles ID. And that's it. So yeah, so then we're done. Okay, so we're going to synchronize the changes. We're going to test out this thing on the front end. So how do we test out that minimally? Well, we give it a image picker. That's an input component. And we'll also give it a select view, which is a thing that can select one or more items from a list. So get rid of this guy, and then we'll just select the select view is going to be a list of styles. And we get rid of the list. We want all the styles, and we have no filter because we want all the styles. And we have no default selection, so leave that all empty. For the design, make the height as fit, so that's going to be as high as they need, and the width is just 80%. This is for aesthetics, doesn't really matter. For the content of the selected component, we are going to use the name, and for the non-selected one, so they have two states, you have to edit the presentation for each state. We are going to use name, so it's just basically just name, and then we have a single button, and then we call this edit, right? And now what we're going to do is when edit is clicked, we're going to run the action flow, and it's just going to be called edit and save. We'll use the ID of the style that's chosen in the select view, and then we're going to use the image that was given inside the image picker. Now, how do we test this? Click this. This is the mirror. Mirror is good for testing stuff. It automatically refreshes if you make changes on the UI. For example, this is what you see, right? This looks a bit annoying. So maybe what we want to change here is we have like a multi-line. And now you can see we have multiple lines. It no longer looks as disgusting. It still looks a bit weird, but that's all right. And maybe this no longer says edit. We add a bunch of exclamation marks. Now this should say edit blah. Right, so let's upload the same image that we had before, which is my picture of holding a bunch of muzzles. And we'll use the same style, porcelain and Kinski. So this one is this one. And I'm going to click edit. There will be no user interface response here because I did not configure any. It just calls an action flow. There is nothing that says it's like, give me a visual indication something happens. Typically, if you were to do that, you will need to create either a conditional view or maybe a model prompt like a toast or something to give a visual indication. So how do we know it's actually running? Well, first of all, we can go to the image editor and then we can take a look at when the last thing was run. So this is run on 00. So this is Zulu time. This is GMT. +8 is what I am at right now. So 18 plus 8 is 26, which means it is 2 a.m. So that is here. Now, if you also look at data within image generation, we expect to see at least one image. So we see a single line, and the original image corresponds to, come on, it takes a while, corresponds to my image, and the generated one corresponds to the one that AI's generated. Okay, so that's cool. And this thing is unfortunately empty. Why is that? Because we did not choose to mimic any user. So in fact, there was no user. So in order to fix that, we're going to create a fake user, a test user, in fact, and then we're going to rerun it. And then this time, the user is going to say 1001, and then we're going to do, this time I'm going to do a bioluminescence avatar, right? So we can see the difference. So once I click, you go to AI, and then you take a look in here. It's now in progress. We have one that's being generated, and you can also see this one has an account ID. And back in here, if we wait for another 10-15 seconds and we keep refreshing, we just see a new line. Okay, we now see the new line with the same original image, but a different generated image. So that's what, so bioluminescence, that's apparently what bioluminescence does to you when you're using Gemini or Nano Banana Pro. Okay, so that is how you would create a backend on Momen. You can, of course, do other things like importing APIs or other stuff. Now, this clearly is not going to win you any Hackathon awards because it looks crap. You can spend time to make it look nice, but unless you're an expert in Figma or front-end layout, you probably want to use an AI to do it. Momen does not yet have the ability to use AI to help you to build the front end, but you can use other tools like Google's AI Studio, and you go to build, and then what you can do is you go to a GitHub repo called Momen Lovable integration. Even though it says Lovable integration, it's actually applicable for any vibe coding tool, especially any vibe coding tool really. So just copy the raw file. Go into here. Paste the whole thing in. Acknowledge. We paste the whole thing in, and that tells AI Studio how to interact with Momen, but we still don't know what the project looks like. So for that purpose, you have to go back to the user center, and you would go to the project you were just using and click download simplify schema. That is useful to transfer the context of what the project itself looks like to the large language model. So we're gonna add this file over here. I downloaded it just now. I'm gonna say build me an AI image editor. Use Momen backend, and then you need to give it the backend ID. So that's this guy. Okay, I think that's all you probably need. And if you want to be a bit more careful, you could do this. Right, so that's the other way to do it. You can copy this entire thing and go to here and user stories, and then you just paste it in. And we also want to make sure we don't have like social login. I think that's it. So we're gonna click build. It's gonna take its time. While we're waiting for this thing to finish, we can also do the same thing in Cursor. So in order to do it in Cursor, you create yourself a brand new project. We're gonna create a new folder called Hackathon tutorial. Go in there, open up a new terminal. We do have a cursor rule that's specific for cursor, so you could ask a cursor to follow the instructions here to clone everything. So you can ask cursor to do it, but I am going to do it manually. Copy, git clone that. This will give me will copy all the things from Moment Cursor rules. I'm gonna get the cursor thing out, and I'm gonna delete everything from Moment Cursor rules. Right, so this gives the large language model in Cursor the understanding of what Moment is. And then the other thing you need to do is following this instruction over here, add the MCP server to Cursor. So I've already added it, and I'm also gonna close some ones over here. And we are going to then build out using Sonnet. I will build it very similar to Google AI Studio. Well, Lovable is going to be very similar to Google AI Studio as well, but in here we'll copy and paste what we wrote in Google AI Studio. Okay, so that is what we need. And this thing wants access to camera. I don't know why, but let's just allow it. And we're gonna say go. This will then try to access the project on Moment via the MCP server, but since we have not logged in here, it is going to ask us to log in very soon. Okay, so start running MCP servers. You can see that, and then it's now going to ask us to log in. So now we need to log in. So just log in normally with your Moment account. Once it's done, you'll get this token received notification, and now the large language model in Cursor will keep working on it. Okay, So let's wait for this thing to work while we go to Gemini. So an error, that's very common. They very often run into errors. If you know how to, if you have worked with vibe coding tools on the front end, you can probably debug some of that. But this is very common. You might have to go through this with a couple of iterations to make it work. But for things that can be built in here. Okay, so it's still refreshing. Still wrong. To know what can be built in Momen with AI for the front end, this is one of the front ends that's built with Momen backend and AI as the front end. So with vibe coding front end, this is actually built by Cursor. You can also, I think I also have a few. I think I also have a few AI Studio. Okay. Gallery, your apps. I think I have some. Yeah, AI Vision Editor. That's the one that I created previously. Supposedly serves the same purpose. AI Vision. No account. Okay, it needs an email address. Okay, we need a verification code. I am going to get my verification code very soon. Okay, these are my emails. I have 100,000 unread emails. Yes, mostly spam. Okay, so this thing is now made a mistake. Copy and let it fix. I mean, I never tested this one out, so that's actually the one. This is the same one. Whoops. Yeah. I thought I had odor stuff created by you. Oh, wrong project. Whoops. I was using my personal account, not Momen. I should go to Momen. Yeah. This is something that was created on Momen, which then has a Gemini AI Studio generated front end. So this is the one. Okay, so we're in here. It should get fixed. And let's see. Oh, really? I think I can reuse this because the previous call didn't actually succeed. Okay, so I'm now done. Here, let's create my I'll use this guy. We'll use the same one, and let's do porcelain, and this should do the trick. Whoops. Okay, and I will do the porcelain. Where's my porcelain? Apply AI Studio. Okay, so now we have another error, and then you kind of just keep going at it and fixing it. It will take you probably 5-10 tries to get it correct, but once correct, it will look something like this. You get a fairly fancy front end with these visuals. Like this one would have a fade visual, and you can buy things, and then you have if you click new trip, you can create new trips in here. That was an AI trip planner that I built. So you click, I actually run out of credits, so it's unfortunate, right? So but if we go to here, do I have credits? I have 5 credits. That's good enough. So let's say if we want to just go to Malaysia. I know Malaysia is gigantic, so let's see what AI does. It sometimes with AI, it feels like it's going in circles, but it usually, if these are the errors that you have seen, like you have picked up in experience in the past, that it kind of like is common, then with enough prompting, it will fix it. She planning a trip to Malaysia. Malaysia, truly Asia. I think that's their brand line. Okay, here we go. We have Kuala Lumpur and Malacca straight. And you see in here, there is actually no image. Why is that? Because the images are generated asynchronously. So we would automatically generate the image after the trip is inserted into the database. So wait 15 seconds and reload. Usually these images are back while they're just finished generating. So if we refresh now, you should see these images. Yeah, Malaysia. Okay, cool. So that kind of sums it up. I mean, if this thing is still getting stuck in here, this thing works, right? So in terms of cursor, we don't know how far it is at right now. Well, it's gotten into an error, and that is also fairly common. With AI, they will just run into issues, and you have to fix them. You could either fix them by hand, or you can fix them by prompting. But if you don't know how to code, that's the only choice. But if you're really stuck with AI, you can always use Momen to build a front end. And then you can make it slightly less ugly by adding spacing or adding padding. So that's how you would do these things. And mind you, you can create okay looking front ends pretty quickly. This one's done pretty quickly in a moment, right? But if you want to build a fancy looking one, it's going to take you some time. This one took quite a while to build. All right, thank you very much. That's all I have for today, and hopefully this will be helpful to you doing a hackathon, even if you don't know how to code at all. Good luck hacking.